So far, we've closed almost $20 million in exits across multiple businesses, multiple sectors, and in multiple countries, and we're on the verge of selling a few other businesses that we have. During this process, I can tell you that the vast majority of individuals face the challenge of preparing their business enough in advance for a potential acquisition that is in the interest of the person or the people, the partners that own that specific entity. My name is Robert Andres, and I have had so far 11 profitable businesses. So today, I'm going to tell you 11 items that you can do to prepare for the sale of your company. Some of these items you don't need to do exactly in this order. However, you need to have all of them if you want to get the maximum amount of value. And even if you don't want to sell your business right now, or you might never sell it, it's still very useful to have all of these in place, because at the end of the day, these are foundational for you to have an established business that can last, maybe even decades in any economy that, or any global context that might occur in the future. For it to be more helpful for you, I'm actually going to take all of these 11 steps and use one of my companies as an example. I'm going to use Westrom Corporation, which is a company I've owned for over 12 years now. What I can tell you is that the very first thing I start off with whenever I start a company or go into a company is we focus on describing the vision. What is the 3 to 5 year vision that you have for this company? And in the case of Westrom, we want it to be a entrepreneurial safe haven for everyone that wants to not have a specific agenda. They want to work from anywhere, want to work at any time of the day. They want to have unlimited vacation days. This was part of our vision. We literally created a hub of entrepreneurial spirits. We've gotten dozens of these people that wanted to be their own boss basically, but they didn't want to have the hassle of a company, of taxes, of anything like that. They just wanted to be given clients and they make money, they work on whatever work they love, and so on and so forth. So that was part of our vision. It's a very strong part of our vision even to this day. And we had numbers around revenue, numbers around profit margins, types of clients we want to have, and so on and so forth. All of that is in your vision. So you can learn more about visions. We have actually a specific video on that. I'm going to ask my team to link it here, or we have an entire course where we help people set up their business. We have a book on the subject. All of the links will be in the description. However, for this video specifically, I'm going to take you through these 11 steps. If you need more, you can then do your due diligence after that. Let's go on to the second step, defining a mission. So the vision is a future perspective of where your business is going to be. If everything succeeds, or if the vast majority of things go as planned, this is what this company is going to look like in 3 years. And anyone buying a company wants to know what's the direction, what's the trajectory, because that they know the decisions you have taken until now have been on this journey, have been on this road. Whomever buys a business doesn't buy a business so that it stays exactly the same in the vast majority of cases. They're buying a business that's on route. Let's say you start a SaaS company, you get that SaaS company to $1 million a year in revenue and maybe 300 grand in EBITDA. But then someone buying that company doesn't want to buy a company that stays there. They want to see the trajectory. They want to understand the vision. And so that vision you describe. The mission, on the other hand, is something that the company stands for. For example, rendering high quality services no matter what, pursuing ethics in business, whatever it is for you. Again, we talk about mission statements and so on and so forth in other videos. I'm not going to go in because they're very, very important. Please do your due diligence. This was the second step. The third step might take you a little bit longer. However, it is very important that you actually define, and that is to list all responsibilities, every single thing that needs to get done in your business. For example, in the case of Westrom, we had responsibilities around website development. We had responsibility, or web development in general. We had responsibilities around server maintenance. We had responsibilities around HR, responsibilities around sales and anything that has to do with contract. We had responsibilities around accounting. We had responsibilities across project management. We had responsibilities across quality assurance for our clients, and so on. anything you can think of, every single item. Just look at one day or 1 month in the business and mention down every single action item, everything that that business needs to do. This takes us perfectly to the fourth point, which is to outline your entire org chart. So now that you have all of those responsibilities, let's say there are 200 things that your business does, someone in the business needs to do. Then you define your org chart. Who's the owner, CEO, chief of finance, chief of operations, chief of revenue, whatever it is, right? And then all of the people below that. Now you take all of those responsibilities, you drag and drop, copy, paste, whatever, into those different items, into those different places or those different positions that you have within your organization. By the way, if you want software where you can easily define your org and put all of these in, you can use Alvanda. We'll link to it down below, and then it's very easy to use. If you have any questions around that, let us know. We can help you with that in the future as well. Once you have all of that set up, so you have a vision, you know where you're going, you have a mission, what do we stand for, you have everything you need done in the business and who is going to do it, then you go on to the next item, which is hiring for outcomes. One of the biggest mistakes people make, managers, HR people, owners, doesn't matter, whomever is responsible for hiring and recruitment, is that they hire people to do work, which is wrong. Please stop it. Do not hire someone to post on your social media. Do not hire someone to write articles. You need to hire for outcomes. What does that mean? If you're working with someone that does social media, for example, you agree on outcomes. How much money are we going to make from these social media efforts? How many leads are we going to get, right? If you're talking about content, right? How much traffic will this article generate? How many leads will this article generate? What are the outcomes, the end result outcomes that I actually care about? If you're hiring a waiter, how many people are leaving us 5-star reviews? That's the outcome that you actually want. Because at the end of the day, anyone can just put a plate on the table, right? They can be horrible whilst they do it. They can disregard your clients. They can be sloppy. They can whatever. Just the act of putting a plate on the table can be done in so many different ways and by so many different types of people, that you have to define the actual outcome. What you want is for people to be cared for them to feel that they're the most important person on the world right now for this 1 hour that they're dining with us in our restaurant, right? That's the outcome. So you need to hire people that help you achieve that outcome. When you're in interviews, you don't hire someone that posts on social media, right? Any 6-year-old, I was about to say 4, but any 6-year-old can post on social media. It's very simple to do that. You don't want to pay someone $1,000 a month to post on social media. What you want is someone to actually figure out what is it going to take for this funnel, this social media funnel, to generate results, to generate opportunities for the business, right? Whether that's whatever sales you want to make or whatever types of leads you want, okay? So this is just one example, but use this philosophy for every single person that you hire for. Once you've hired these individuals to actually give you the outcomes that you want, then you go to the next step, which is empowering them so that they can do their work. I have a very simple rule within all of my businesses, and that is if I need to be involved, something is broken. Either someone wasn't empowered enough to do something, or something else broke. A system, a tool, a client relationship, the government broke, the global economy broke, something broke, and needs to be fixed. And so something unexpected that's what I'm trying to say. If people weren't empowered enough, it's my fault. If something broke and no one could have foreseen that breaking, you can say that's my fault or whomever was in charge of doing that. At the same time, we should also cut ourselves some slack. No one or nothing will work 100% of the time, in every single context, no matter what. Cut yourself some slack. You don't need to be perfect all the time. At the same time, if someone, let's say the social media person, if they need to post, but they always need you to send them a message when they can post and so on and so forth, they can't be creative with the times, they can't be creative with the answers, with the comments, and so on and so forth. Does that mean that you're at a certain level of risk, that they can post anything, they can ruin your reputation, they can reply poorly to comments? Yes. So you can have different control keys there. At the same time, some level of empowerment in many cases is required, whether that's a salesperson, whether that's a developer, whether that's a marketing person, an accountant. They need to have certain levels of empowerment so that they can actually achieve the outcomes that you want without your involvement. That's the key phrase. Because if you have key person dependency, that's what it's called. It's a very critical risk factor when buying a business. If the business has key person dependency on any one individual, whether that's you or someone else, that's a very big red flag. If you have such red flags in your business, I highly recommend finding ways to take those out. And typically the simplest solution is by empowering everyone else, so that if that one person, is sick for a week, or they leave, or whatever happens, or maybe if you're bought out, obviously you won't be part of the company anymore, everything else will still function without your involvement. This actually takes me perfectly to my next point, which is define control keys. You should always be defining control keys. So how do I know if I don't need to talk to anyone, I don't need to check up, I don't need to have a call, I don't need to do anything? How can I define a control key for every part of the business? For example, the generation of revenue can very easily be defined by how much money you have in the bank, right? Or how much money is coming in to the bank every day, every week, every month. So I can very easily see, I have that control key. How do I check how the sales team is doing? I just look at revenue, right? I see how much revenue is coming in for what services. If I want to then see how marketing is doing compared to sales, because sales might be doing cold calls, emails, LinkedIn outreach, or whatever sales is doing, and marketing might be doing SEO, ads, podcasts, whatever else they're doing. So then I need to see, okay, my control key of revenue I've met. We wanted to make $100,000 in new revenue. We've achieved it. It's 170. Now let's see, out of this revenue, how much was from the leads that the salespeople generate, and how much was it from the leads that the marketing team generated? If 80% of the revenue was generated by the sales team and only 20% by marketing, that might be a problem. Again, it depends on how you structure your business. But if you have the control key to see how many leads come from the various different funnels that you have at any one given time, then you will know if this is succeeding or this is failing. And if it's failing, you can look into it. If it's succeeding, you can give people rewards, you can give them bonuses, you can praise them publicly, or anything else. Don't be the guy that people only see when something's wrong, right? Be the person that praises twice as much than they criticize, or that rewards people twice as much that they penalize them. And now from there, let's move on to the next point, which is financial management. Anyone that wants to buy a company wants to look at their P&Ls, their balance sheets, their anything else that they have that will give them financial information. How much did we sell? To whom? How often? When? All of this information is very, very important. How many different types of expenses do we have in the business, right? Like maybe, do we have rent or not? Are we paying for Salesforce or Elvanda, or are we paying for Jira? What are we paying for? How much do salespeople cost? Do they have base salary plus commissions? If they close a lot of deals, how do those months look like in terms of expenses? And so on and so forth. So you should have a high degree of financial management. However, the most important thing here is financial control. You need to be able to see every single dollar that comes in, every single dollar that goes out, where it came in from, where is it going out. See your cash flow month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, and so on, and see all of this in one place. You shouldn't have to keep running around different tools, different websites. You can create this in a Google Sheet, in Excel, in QuickBooks, whatever you use. You should always have this information. Whether it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday and you can't sleep, you just want to check your finances, or whether it's Tuesday morning at 11 a.m., you should be able to, at a glance, see all of your finances and the financial health of your company. And anyone buying your company will appreciate that level of structure. Moving on from there, something that is incredibly valuable whenever you buy or sell businesses is goodwill. That is literally how it's defined in financial terms. It's goodwill. How much goodwill do you have with clients within your industry, with the local environment, local communities, with partners, with vendors, and so on and so forth? How much goodwill? What's your reputation like? If you have, for example, you're choosing between two SaaS products that you want to buy. Let's say both of them do digital gift cards, right? Like that you can buy a $5 digital gift card and anyone can, just put things there and you give that digital gift card as a link to someone that's their birthday or happy anniversary and so on. Let's say there are two companies that do the exact same thing. One of them has maybe 20 reviews and 4 stars. The other has 1,000 reviews and 4.5 stars. If they have the exact same revenue, the exact same product to a large extent, everything else is the same, but one of them has much more goodwill than the other, you go with the one that has more goodwill. And so you can set yourself up for success by asking for reviews, asking for testimonials, video testimonials, making sure that you have a customer success or customer satisfaction department, again, depends on whether your services or products, and making sure they're empowered to give people amazing experiences, right? And to talk nicely with them, and they get the training that they need to be good on those calls or within those emails and so on. So basically build up as much goodwill as you can, and typically you don't do that in a week or in a month. You do that across quarters and entire years. So for example, when I sell businesses, I can show 5 years of goodwill. I can show them video testimonials from 2020, 2021, 2022. I can show them success stories from those years. I can show them awards that we've won, best digital marketing agency, best B2B services company in the country, most profitable entity in the local region, and so on and so forth. So we have all of these rewards, all of these success stories. Whomever buys one of my companies buys something that is fully established. They literally shortcut 3 to 5 to sometimes 10 years of efforts by just buying us outright and then just taking it from there. So you can put yourself in a similar situation, and if you're someone buying companies, you should look at goodwill as well. This actually takes me perfectly to the next point, which is to document your success stories. If you want to prove that your company actually delivers on the value proposition it exists for, right, within the vision, mission statement, and so on. Again, even if you're a bakery, the value you bring to the universe is that you make people happier, right? They are happier when they leave your coffee shop than when they came in, right? That is the vision. That's what you do. You should find a way to be able to prove that. Outside of goodwill, just having it, having the reviews, having all of that, you should be documenting success stories. If you're a digital agency, before and after, right? How was their SEO? How was their ad campaigns or their ad accounts? How was their PR, online, and how is it like now? And this is the story, right? This is the success story of that. Tell the success story within the restaurant of, someone that's been coming here for a year or 2 years, and you can literally get that on video. Hey, we noticed you've been coming here for, over a year now. Why do you keep coming here? We're just curious. Say, well, you know what? I really love the vibe. I don't know, something about this place. You say, so that's so cool. Thank you so much. Do you mind if we get that on video? We would love for you to share, the first time you've come here, what impressed you? Why are you coming? For how long have you been here? And many people will love to give you that video testimonial. So that's basically the success story in that case. So I gave you 2 examples just so it's very clear. If you have tens, dozens, maybe even hundreds of these, anyone buying the company can just look at an entire library of success stories and know, if I'm looking for a software development company, like Westrom, these guys actually deliver on the promise of their service because they have 100 success stories that they can be backed up. All of them can be backed up with clear proof of everything that happened. And now we are at the final point. There are obviously many more points. I don't want to say that these 11 are the end all be all. However, these are very important. If you do all of these 11, you can sell at so much more than if you haven't had any one of them. And the 11th point is legal compliance. If you're a restaurant, you need to make sure that you're in compliance with health standards, with service standards of whatever restaurants need to have these days. If you are a digital services rendering company, you should have, for example, insurance like errors and omissions insurance. So if anyone on your team makes an accident, like let's say they control the social media account of a client and they make an accident, like a real mistake, like genuinely they didn't want to do that, but then that client sues you, you have insurance. Errors and omissions, it was an honest error. We can prove it was an error because that person posted 100 other items and this one item was posted poorly. So even if they sue us, it goes directly to the insurance and then the insurance company takes care of the claim. We just pay $1,000 or something like that and then everything gets sorted. We've never been in the situation, luckily. We've always had, even if we would make mistakes, we had amicable conversations and everything went well, everything was solutioned nicely. At the same time, make sure your contracts are bulletproof. Make sure if you buy certain things with vendors that the contract stipulates that you have a guarantee for every single item individually or things of that nature. So have all of this legal compliance. Have trademarked, your ideas or your logo or your brand or any slogans that you have. Have as much legal compliance as you can, because at the end of the day, each and every one of those will add an extra 50 grand here, an extra 100 grand here. And all of a sudden, instead of you selling your company for 1.5 million, you're selling it for 2 million. And so that adds another $500,000 to your family's income, and then you can enjoy that for basically the rest of your life. So these are the 11 points. Again, if you need more information, my team is here. They're going to answer any questions. Email us, take our courses, read our books. Hopefully this was helpful, and I wish you an amazing year ahead.